Welcome back. Come sit down with us, and today we will be covering the free agency that's been happening. Yesterday, I guess this will be posted the next day, but for us today, yeah, it was craziness. A lot happened. So what we're gonna do, if this is your first time watching us, if you can't just tell by our two hats, me, Bailey's a Bucks fan. Shane over there is a Dolphins fan. So what we're gonna do is talk about the Dolphins and Bucks free agency first. I'm gonna let Shane start off first because I believe I might be wrong here that only you guys only had one free agency thing. Unless I'm missing something.
Yeah, I guess the biggest things with the Dolphins today really was, we had a couple small things, but they did release Tua, you know,
Yeah.
so let him go, and then of course have to eat his 90 something million for the next 2 years, but and then Tua, of course, went off and signed with the Falcons.
Yep.
So I guess we can talk more about that. But looking at the release, and then they also did the trade with Minka Fitzpatrick, which this morning when I saw that, I really wasn't too excited because they traded him for a seventh round pick, and that's pretty much given away. You don't really most of those people don't even really make the team, seventh round. So I was like, normally with him, somebody like his criteria, you can get third, fourth, fifth round pick, for somebody like that. But I do believe now, a little bit after things have moved through the day, that they were probably trying to clear the cap space. So they needed to move him, somebody else pay for his salary. And that opened it up really to allow the big story for the Dolphins is to sign Malik Willis.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and that really was the big story. And when you look at that made me a little more excited. We don't know. I was a little afraid when he was the top really free agent, I think, for quarterbacks out there, for a lot of people talking. And there was mentions that he may get like 30 million a year. And one of the problems with Tua was we spent way too much money, so
Yep.
and then didn't work out with the issues. So I was a little concerned. It wasn't that high. It didn't go for the 30 million. So it's like 20 something million, but still it was much better value for somebody who, I know that the one thing that, scary, he doesn't have a lot of starts, a lot of experience, as a starter. But he does, he did look really good when he came in and played for Jordan Love when he was hurt. He moves around. He does give us some abilities to move the ball, with the feet, and, passing. He does have the ability to really, do a lot of good stuff there. So, I'm a little excited for it. I know we're in a rebuild, so, I don't know what to expect this year. But he does, for me, feel better than just, not having somebody that's out there. So.
I mean, that's my biggest concern. It's not even him himself. I don't think he's bad. The stuff we've seen from him on Titans and Green Bay. It's just your guys' weapons right now, right? Like he doesn't. You guys don't have Tyreek Hill anymore. You don't have that All Star receiver. I don't know what's going on to Jalen Waddle. Is he out? What happened to him again?
No, he's playing.
Oh yeah, he's
He's
still
fine.
there, but he gets injured 5 times a year. So we gotta pray he stays healthy. And then what happened with y'all keeping Darren Waller? Or was that a 1 year deal?
Yeah, it was. I don't know.
I hope
There.
y'all keep him. Oh my lord.
Yeah, it's tough with the Dolphins right now. They got a lot of young players, a lot of people that were, not really known as much to a lot of the, people out there, fans, unless you're Dolphin fans, but they were playing really well at the end of the season. And they're gonna. It's tough because you got new coaches, they got new design. So honestly, when you see that, as a fan, you have probably 2 or 3 years before you're going to see something put together.
Yeah.
And so this year is just going to be, they're ties, they're really limited by the cap hits because of Tua and stuff like that, and some of the decisions on some of the other players. So I think for the next 2 years, it's trying to make, do with what you have as much as you can, and then when you get through that, be able to do something. And I guess depending what they can do with the draft, and some smaller free agency things. But you're right. It'd be interesting to see. I have a feeling it's either going to come in the draft or somewhere where they're going to add to the receiving core. that has to happen with
I mean, still got
Tyreek Hill
Devon A.
gone.
Chain, too, at running back.
Yeah, I mean, we still have A Chain. We
Run
that
game really helps quarterbacks. So we've seen that with Daniel Jones on Colts. They're able to feed Jonathan Taylor, which, made Daniel Jones do less work, which made him actually play really good over there. So we'll see what happens with that duo there.
Yeah, it's definitely, obviously I'm not as confident as, some of the teams that have more pieces and play right now, but it is early, and I know some people, there's teams out there not doing much at all right now. Like
That's
I
true.
don't think the Vikings really signed anybody yet. So, for that, the Dolphins have a little more exciting, but I know, some of these teams like the Raiders and they've been much more active today, but there was so much activity. I don't know. I constantly saw notices about something going on today. So it was definitely, I felt like I was in one of those group chats where it keeps going off and on and on. It's constantly on my phone. When I was working, I kept getting distracted, but not just for, my guys, but I know for you, you got that notice you don't like. You want to talk about that one?
Well, before we get into my stuff, I wanted to ask you one last question
Okay,
for
here
the
we go.
Dolphins. Is who do you think is starting week one? Quinn Ewers or Malik? Because
I
Quinn
mean,
looked good this when they brought him in, like what 4 or 5 weeks or whatever it was.
I assume the coaches are probably looking. I mean, Quinn Ewers was not the coach's guy. You know what I mean? So, and he did coach, Malik Willis over there. So, I don't think they would have paid that kind of money to him if they're not hoping for him to be the week one starter. And if they may look at competition, and if somebody beats out somebody else, that's maybe the way they'll go. But my gut feeling is Malik Willis will be the starter week one, because they invested too much in him. They didn't bring him over for a 7 million per year or something like that. So that kind of money, when teams usually pay for it, unless he just really fails and really struggles. But I mean, he has an advantage. These coaches, he knows these coaches that came over. They're Green Bay head coach. So he's, I think he's definitely going to be the one probably starting. But I like to see what Ewers can do, and he's young and he could blossom into something that's you know a starter or a franchise quarterback. But right now, I have a feeling it's going to be Malik at the point. But I think they're going to give him a chance to show what he has.
Yeah, I mean, that just shows me that after the Tua stuff, they're playing it safe, right? They have multiple options now. They don't want to do another Tua situation where they put all their marbles in one guy, and then look how the season turned out. So yeah, either way, I mean, they're both good. We'll see what happens. I was just kind of shocked because I thought he played good the last few weeks. I mean, he dogged on my Bucks. I think it was the second to last week or whatever. So I was a little surprised, but again, I'm not hating them because well, what happened to Tua, I don't blame them having a safe option.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
either way, talking about my guys, I pretty much had the worst day of my life because my goat, the guy I grew up watching, right, ever since I got into football, there's been one man on the Bucks, right? Love Doug Martin as a kid. He eventually went a different team. Love Jameis Winston. He eventually went to a different team. Love Vincent Jackson. R.I.P. Vincent Jackson. Right? But there's always been one guy. Actually, a few guys, but one of the few guys, which is Mike Evans. Watching him all my life, and now as you guys can see here, that's my goat hanging up. Yeah, he's no longer in the Bucks, so that's awesome sauce. And you know what? There's one man for this, and it's pretty obvious. Todd Balls. Todd Balls is doo doo buns. He's doo doo buns. He's the reason Mike is gone. All right, listen, bro. This is what Buck said. It's like, do we want one of the greatest receivers of all time, or a head coach that couldn't even take us into the playoffs with the losing, record, with the worst division in the league? Let's keep that coach. All right, so I'm sick of him. I gave up on the Bucks. Now listen, I know most fans are going to be haters and be like, "Oh, we hate Mike Evans now." I'm not going to be like that. I'm going to support Mike Evans actually on 49ers. If you hate on him as a Bucks fan, you're not a Bucks fan. Let the man go. I mean, I feel bad for him. Look at all the QBs he had in his career. His only good QB was Tom Brady and Baker, but he had to stick with Jameis and Mike Glennon and Josh Freeman. So listen, hopefully his last 3 years in 49ers, he has fun. I will be rooting for 49ers and Bucks to win the Super Bowl the next 3 years because I want my guy Mike Evans to get another ring. Listen, that's my second team now until Mike retires. Obviously, Bucks will always be my number one, but you know what? Now I'm not going to be a 49ers hater. I hope he shines over there. I hope he does his thing. That does suck for us. Unfortunate. But again, I'm not mad at him. I'm more mad at our coaching and our GM. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know how you don't keep Mike Evans. I mean, 2 years ago, he just tied Jerry Rice's record, but all right. I guess we'll let him go. That makes logical sense there. But that's great head coaching right there and GM right there. Um, so yeah, screw me. I don't know if you had any thoughts on the Mike Evans thing, but I just hate my life. I'm
Yeah, well, I
depressed.
know Bucks fans are not happy at all with this news. I mean, it's when you have a staple that, the team that's a player that's been there the whole time that you used to seeing. It's always tough when they leave. And we were talking about this, and I thought a lot of it, what his decision sort of told me what he thought about the Bucks. And if he felt like they were going to be contenders and that they really had a good chance, and he liked what he saw with the coaching and the game plan, whatever going into it, I think I'm not sure he would just been looking for money. And so for me, I think this is a sign that he felt that he would have a better opportunity with a team like the 49ers. And I think he feels, you know maybe it's a combination of things are just not clicking, there's or too many other receivers in the mix. And but I don't I don't think it's just that. I do believe he thought he had a better opportunity. And maybe it's a business side too. It makes, Bucks weren't willing to pay him the money that, another team would, and the 49ers. But I do believe, like you said, he is probably walking into a 49ers team who really did really well after all the injuries they had last season,
Yeah.
that everyone kept trying to write them off, and they still, performed really well. So if they get back to being healthy, and have a Mike Evans type receiver, Brock Purdy's going to, excel with that. He's done a lot with some receivers have done a lot less. So, I think Mike wants to get back to that 1,000 yards, wrap up, some more seasons with that. Like you said, it is disappointing for, anybody with the Bucks. And it's going to be weird watching them have a 49ers outfit on in a uniform and helmet. It's not going to be the same, for sure.
No, it will not. But you know what I will say? That is unstoppable offense right there. From CMC to George Kittle to Mike Evans to Brock Purdy.
Hmm.
Hey, listen. And also, Brock Purdy might get some more love in fantasy next season now.
Yeah, well,
That's all I'm
that's
saying.
one of these things that we definitely don't want to forget about when we talk about these is how this is how it affects fantasy values
Yeah.
for all these players. And obviously, the quarterbacks, the running backs, the receivers, how they complement each other. And you're right. I think this also gives Brock Purdy another weapon, and another weapon that gives him higher value in fantasy. And of course, like when you look at the Bucks, it'll be interesting who's going to be the main receivers. Is Ibuka going to really step up this year and
Yeah.
take over the mantle, or Godwin, one, and does this help their fantasy values? Very well. Obviously, when a player leaves, now things are not done yet, so we don't know completely, until they finish picking up players or draft, so on. But at this point in time, I agree with you. I think Evans does help Brock Purdy's value, and,
Yeah.
and it does help the team over there. And Amika and stuff now, because that's one of the things we talked about with Amika and Godwin is, what are they going to do fancy wise when, all of them are there. So now Mike's not going to be there. They may step up in value too,
Honestly,
depending.
I think next fantasy season that's going to be one of the hardest decisions. Who was Bucks number one, Chris or
Mm,
Amika? Because I mean, you should say Chris, right? Just from all his years in the past and what he can do. But then you have the downside of his injuries. Chris Godwin is very injury prone.
yeah.
But Mika Buka is the young guy, but as we've seen, he also had that fall off second half of the season. So it's gonna. I'm curious next year to see who gets drafted higher. And you know what? As much as I'm a Bucks fan, I hope that doesn't come to me. Like I hope they both get drafted before they get to me, so I don't have to make that choice. Because good God, I don't know who I'm gonna choose there. because I just have no idea. But yeah, that's gonna be interesting. Bucks
Yeah,
receiver room and 49ers receiver room too.
yeah, it's
Both
tough too
ways.
because they don't play a lot in preseason, so that's about the time we used to take a look to see, who are they favoring, and of course, the starting quarterback doesn't play a lot, so we won't know until the season starts, who really, they lean on uh, for the first couple games on it. I mean, my guess is I think they're going to try to push toward Amika. He's the younger
Yeah.
one, but do they lean on the experience of Godwin, and is he fully healthy and, ready to go? It'd be interesting. And
And
with
sticking with the Bucks, right? We got a little few more.
yeah, yeah.
Who was next? We had I guess we'll go to our second big loss is Jamel Dean. Now listen, I know most people are gonna, be mad. I've always been a Jamel Dean hater. Personally, I know his stats are actually pretty good, and apparently I was looking at it, I think he only allowed one touchdown last season, which is kind of crazy. But at the same time, every time I watch the game, I mean, me and Shane watch games together. I hate Jamel Dean. Good God, I'm always yelling at him on my TV. So I personally don't care about this one. I know a lot of Bucks fans were unhappy about this. I know his stats are pretty good again, but I don't care. Listen, he can go do his thing in Pittsburgh. Uh, my personal opinion, I think he's a little overrated. I think his stats show more than he actually is, if that's the best way to say it. But like, yeah, it is what it is. We lost a corner, which does suck in that way because I feel like that's something Bucks just do not have. So I am kind of curious, even though I do hate him. I'm kind of like, what's going through their mind of losing another cornerback when that's one of our most needed positions. And it's like you already lost Mike Evans, so it's like it's not like you're struggling with money. You had free money while releasing Mike Evans, so I don't know if they have a plan on trading for someone, picking up a corner, or drafting. I don't know what the plan is for the Bucks, but personally, I don't give a crap. I don't know what you think about Jamel Dean.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it just really depends who you replace these guys with. It's same as with Fitzpatrick. Obviously you lose somebody with that talent. And they trade it off. You're wondering, okay, who's going to replace them, and are you going to just lean on who you have on the team? Or are you going to have to go get somebody else? And that's really, it's a little early, obviously. After free agency's over and we get into the draft to see what they do, then you'll be wondering, okay, which ones are going to step up on here. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's I'm not sure, with him so far if that's going to be a bad thing for the Bucks. It just really depends who's the next man up.
I agree. And we also another one a pickup. I know we've been on negative Nancy right here the last few, but a positive is we have picked up Kenneth Gainwell. Which some fans are going to be like, okay, I mean, not a big running back, but it's bigger than you guys might think because if you guys didn't know, this offseason we did lose Rashad White. His contract was up. He did not re-sign. He is done with the Bucks. So we do have Bucky as number one, which that confirms, by the way. I know the last season, people are like, who's the starter, Bucky or Rashad? Fantasy-wise, that's good for Bucky because he's automatically number one. And now we got our backup with Keenan Gainwell to go and running back two. Apologize. So I like this one personally. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I do too.
I thought Kenneth Gainwell did his thing on Steelers. Again, not a stud. He's not on Saquon or Derrick Henry's level, right? But he's solid. He's a good second string. He'll get it done for you.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think
he
it's a
did
good one.
really well this season, I thought, with, the Steelers and them, being one of the combo backs there over there. And when I saw that today, I was like, oh, I was actually a little excited for the Bucks because I like Gainwell. I think he showed a lot of, potential and capability, and having, teams now needing to run two running backs a lot of times. I mean, obviously that always, you wonder about fantasy value, how that affects you. But for team wise, I think that's a good, mix there, especially when you do get injuries there with the backs. And Gainwell was able to step up and do things when he was needed over there too. So I think that's a really good pick, grading wise. I'd say that's a really good pick, give it like a B or something. I like it.
Mm-hmm. All right, with you great in there, actually, that can go on to our next segment here. That what me and Shane are pretty much going to do is we're just going to go through all of these, and me and him are each going to do our own grade of what we think. Right, A plus being the best thing ever, right? And F minus being the worst thing ever, right? A plus, B plus, B minus. You guys know grading. Everyone's been to school in their
Yeah.
life. I hope you've been to school in life, or that's another topic. So yeah, let me pull up some of these. I guess we could just, since we just talked about it, just get them out the way. We could rapid fire if we want to get these out the way.
All
We'll
right.
start with Malik Willis on Dolphins. What do you grade that for the Dolphins as a pickup?
I think that's a really good pickup. I didn't think I wasn't sure they were going to able to afford him or not with their cap issues and so on. So, personally, for the one pick there, I think, I would say I would get right now just because a little bit of the unknown, but I would say it's a B. I'd give him a B.
Okay, okay. I'll give it. I kind of agree with you. I'll go B, maybe B minus if I had to be more detailed on it. Again, I think it's good. It's just more the reason y'all do have another quarterback, and like you said, we don't know. So I can't give it an A, but I think this is very solid. And then we'll go with 49ers picking up Mike Evans. I'll start this one for me. Listen, y'all gonna call this bias. I'm gonna go highest A plus. One of the goats. It's also position they really need. Apparently, there's talks of Jennings not even staying over there. So I think this is very needed for 49ers. They already got their all-stud tight end. Their all-stud running back. Who are they missing? A receiver. I'm going to go A plus here.
Yeah, I have a hard time giving A plus to anything really, unless I really, really love it. But I
Yeah.
definitely say I think it's an A. I mean, Mike Evans is a stud,
Yeah.
and he
He is
has the
older, so if
potential.
you lose a few points, that's also fair.
Yeah, yeah,
He's not his
and
prime.
depending if he actually steps back and doesn't do as well, then that grade would be off. But for the 49ers for picking up one of the best receivers, in history, that he's done really good things, I would say that's definitely an A pickup for them.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm definitely being biased, but I think that's more of a fair one. Next up, Steelers picking up Jamel Dean. You can go first on this one.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not totally sure if that's, I mean, he's I don't know. I guess right now I'm leaning toward give some fast answers. I would give that a C.
Yeah, just to be fast as well. Y'all already heard me talk about him, so I'm just gonna go D. Not the worst player again. Stats don't lie, but I'm not a fan of him, so I'm gonna go D. Next up, actually a Bucks person we skipped. I totally forgot about this, but we can grade it right now. Is Bucks signing Alex Onizonle? I think definitely butchering his last name. Very goated tight end from the Lions that came over to the Bucks. For me, if we don't know what's going on with Levante David, I'm gonna give this a B plus because this might be a position we really need if Levante David retires.
That's true. Yeah, like a B.
That's solid. We've been kind of the same so far. No debates here. Let me look up through. I'm just looking through if there's some more big boys. Oh yeah, let's just do Chiefs signing K9 Super Bowl MVP. I mean, I think come on. I guess I'll say it. I know it might be glazing A plus. I mean, we talked about this for years. I literally told Shane this last year and Zach and everyone on the pod. I was like, if Chiefs ever get a solid running back, they're going to be scary, right? They always have the receivers, they have the tight ends, they have Mahomes. I am scared for my life right now that Chiefs just got this. So I'm going to go A plus.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good pickup. It's sort of weird that an MVP, just
Ridiculous.
recently was MVP for the Super Bowl, is now not on the same team. And I understand it's a business and they have a younger running back, but I think Kenneth Walker going over to the Chiefs was a really good pickup for them. An offense with if you can go over there with Mahomes and do what he has done, as long as obviously any of these running backs have to stay healthy, but yeah, I give it an A. I think the Chiefs did that was a good pickup, and I think he was one of those players that everybody wanted to see where did he go and I think Seahawk fans did want to keep a lot of them did want to keep him, but they people understand the business, but yeah, I give it an A too.
Okay,
That
and
might be
as a
it.
bonus, I'm gonna go F minus for Seahawks letting him go. That's a little bonus there because that's ridiculous to me, man. I don't care. Put up the money, bro. Honestly, they might have lost that Super Bowl if it wasn't for them because Drake May and Sam Darnold were now looking hot. both sides there.
Yeah, he
So
was really the
that's
main guy.
that's crazy to me. But hey, I guess respect is not a thing anymore.
Really
Um,
thinking about it was him and the kickers, the punter, the kicker, that was really the 3 main people of that game, besides the defense, and,
oh yeah,
obviously
one of the
defense was
worst Super
doing well.
Bowls I watched live. Good God, that was something. Um, Almost skip this one. We're talking about it on your Dolphins side. Let's grade Falcons signing Tua. You can start this one.
I don't blame the Falcons, because when you have these quarterbacks like him and Kyler Murray and stuff, they're already getting paid, so they're on a veteran minimum, so you're paying like 1.5 million for somebody who, two is the problem with two is obviously he can get hurt any second and he's not as good as he used to be, but he still can start on these teams. I don't there, most any expert will say that, he definitely has the capability to start on teams right now over other quarterbacks.
Right.
And, for them getting it cheap is, I don't blame them. They don't know totally what Penix is going to do. Penix may not even be healthy for the start of the season, so bringing in somebody that has starting experience, who's had some good numbers, who, yeah, can't do all the things that he used to, and he's not worth the money that the Miami Dolphins paid, but he's worth money. And is he worth 1.5 million? Yeah. So I'd give it like, just, a B, rating. It's not like they brought in somebody that's going to be a automatic starter and greatest quarterback ever, but I think it was a good cheap budget pickup that they may need. And, Penix gets better and starts a little later, he can carry the load. So I give it a B.
You know, I actually was gonna go D, but with your argument there, you actually just convinced me to go one up. I'll go C because you're right. As much as I don't think Tua's great anymore, let's say before the Tua haters come for me in the comments, I like Tua pre-concussion. It's not his fault, but in my belief, I really do believe that concussion did mess him up. Ever since then, my opinion, he hasn't been great from what I've seen. Just my personal opinion. So he's not the greatest quarterback anymore. But what Shane just said, I didn't know it was that deep, that cheap of a deal. That's kind of crazy. So I'm gonna bump it to a C, maybe even a C plus, because for that amount of money, listen, either way, right? You have a quarterback that maybe beats out Michael Penix, or that's even if Tua is a backup on the Falcons, that is a solid backup. As much
Yeah.
as I've been a Tua hater this last year, that is a solid backup. So for Falcons, I mean that's a win-win scenario. So I can't put it under C. So I'll go C plus here. I think that's a
Yeah.
win for them.
It's sort of, when it's that kind of value, to me, it's hard to give them a bad, because they're not really, that's a little bit of money in today's market, for a quarterback. You can't even get a backup quarterback for that amount that's any decent, so you're right. Even if he's just a backup that can come in when Penix is, needing rest or gets hurt for a play or something like that, yeah, or, out a game or two and you have to rely on somebody that gives you a chance. Yeah, that's a pretty good backup, even if you're not looking at him as being a
Right.
starter. But when moving past that this year, then that could be different. But for this season and a temporary, stab, yeah, probably
We'll
pretty
see.
good
Hey,
for
maybe
them.
Shane, you might have to get a Falcons jersey. You might have to switch just like me and 49ers at this point.
I mean, not best wishes to Tua, but obviously I want the Dolphins to beat them. So
I know this one's a more of an odd one. Not as a big name, but I thought it was kind of funny. And the deal maybe might help the rating here. Cardinals signing QB Gardner Minshew to 1 year, a little under 6 million. I'm gonna give that. I go like a low B, maybe like a B minus, only because he's not the greatest. But like at the same time, Cardinals, I looks like they're gonna lose Kyler Murray, so they're gonna need a quarterback maybe. So I'll go a low B minus. That's not bad, and it's a pretty cheap.
yeah, I mean, I would probably, he's like I said, he's a decent backup. And look at even that, he's a lot more than Tua's costing right now. I'd probably give it a C. It's helpful, but I don't think right
Yeah.
now that I'm that excited about it. But it's not a bad pick.
Hey, maybe he has a Daniel Jones year. Goes
Yeah,
crazy over there.
maybe.
We'll see.
Never know.
Another one we have here: Seahawks to re-sign. I know this is more of a re-sign, but thought this was neat. Re-sign wide receiver Rashad Shaheed. What's your grading on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was really good. And for the team, how he helps the team and stuff. I'd probably give it an A. It's a good re-sign. I think that they can benefit. He helps them, in a lot of ways, and sometimes the best move you can do is just keep your players.
Right.
And Seahawks they had a dynamic last year of players. So we were talking about that with Kenneth Walker. If I was a Super Bowl champ as a team and a coach, I'm going to try to keep as many of the players I can because that dynamic worked for me last year. Even if it's all pieces of it. So keeping anything they can keep, from the defense, offense, and special teams, which really a lot of this stuff is what helped them through the season was the kicking, the running game. That's why I said Kenneth Walker was a big loss, but re-signing him I think was really good for them to do.
Yeah, I'll go a solid B plus. I think that was probably, in my opinion, my favorite move from trading last year, like mid season, was Seahawks picking up him from the Saints. Because I think he actually did have an impact on them. He had a few kickoff returns or punt returns, whatever it was. He was
Yeah.
doing his thing. He was, and you had a wide receiver trio of JSN, Cooper Cup, and Rashad Shaheed. That's kind of crazy. I think that was a fun pickup. I think that's a good resign. I do want to say though, and I'm not dissing Shaheed here. I was just glazing him, but it's kind of funny they'll re-sign him, but not K9. Kind of funny. You're re-signing a third string, but you're not re-signing your big boy. I don't. Again, maybe they just want more money, but we'll get off of that. I just thought it was funny. Next one up here. Maybe I'm just doing this one because maybe I like this guy a little more. Saints signing tight end Noah Fant to a 2-year deal. You have a grade on that?
Yeah, that's I would
It's
say,
an odd one. It's definitely an odd one.
yeah, I mean like a
Because
C
they
pick.
still have that one guy, right? What's his name? He's really good over there. That one tight end. I'm blanking.
Oh
Crap.
gosh.
He's like the bigger guy. Ah,
You just
man.
got me going blank now too for him.
Like very tall. That's what made him different. I'm pretty sure some people are getting him in fantasy the second half of the year. He started picking up. I'm so blanking right now.
Yeah, it is
Does
moving.
this start with a T? Oh, man. Now Shane has to look it up for us. I'm blanking.
Yeah, Johnson. It was Juwan
Johnson.
Johnson. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Really good. Yeah,
I mean
that's why I
that's a good
said,
duo now.
yeah, like I said, I mean, it's that's basically depth. He's not that he's gonna. I think Johnson's a better tight end, but it's always good to have depth, and they use him for blocking and stuff like that too. So
Yeah, I'll go C there. Nothing crazy, but I think it's good. Um. All right, we'll do this one. We'll go another Dolphins guy for you. Um. Jets trading for Mika Fitzpatrick. If you want to grade that.
yeah, I mean, he's definitely a productive player still. Maybe not obviously at the top of his game, but he's pretty well. I would say that's for the Jets helping. They didn't even have one interception last year.
That's
So,
crazy.
adding somebody of his caliber to the team does
He's an
improve
interception
them.
king.
Yeah, so I can see that. So I have to give it at least a B. I would say, Fitzpatrick is a good player. They needed the help, so it hit us, a position they needed because they definitely need help with that. You can't, break a record for no interceptions and not pick up somebody like that. So, I think they did a good job on that. I give it a B.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar with you. I'll go A minus just because they literally traded every defense player and their mama last year. Sauce Gardner, Williams, everyone was gone, right? So
Yeah.
they definitely need defense. And like Shane just said, he's definitely not in his prime anymore, but he's still good. And again, just something they need. They need defense. Jets really need defense, man. Their defense, good God, was looking really bad last year. Um, let's see here. There's so much that happened, so I have a lot here. I'm trying to look through. Um. Oh, here we go. This is an extension. But the Colts extending Alex Pierce. Actually, before we do that, because another receiver that happened, I guess we could talk about. Let's backtrack here. Let's grade Michael Pittman, I guess, going to the Steelers. That's Colts losing a receiver. And then maybe we could talk about this one more. So, Michael Pittman going to the Steelers, how would you grade that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was definitely a good, Pittman's a good player. I could see that being a good positive pick for them. And, I'd probably say, an A. I'd give him an A for that.
Wow, that's solid.
I think it was a
I think we're the
solid
same
move.
here. I'll go A too. I think if DK and him will be a fun duo, and then yeah, he's just good. And now we can bounce to this one because maybe this can change your thoughts on this. With Colts losing Michael Pittman, they extend Alec Pierce to 4 years, 114 million contract extension. You have a grade for that?
I think, you know, it is surprising, but Alex Pierce is one of those receivers that I think is sort of underappreciated. If you look at what he's done and the ability to really get a lot of passes and big passes and stuff like that, he was definitely up for a big payday. And for them to be able to keep him and, a lot, that I thought it was good. I'd say, again, if you keep a top player on your team that really helped, that benefited, that's where I'm gonna be at least a B or A. So probably I'm gonna give it a A. It's a good resign, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna go just a little under you. I'm just gonna go B. B plus. Again, solid player. My only thing would be maybe a tiny bit too much money. Maybe just a tiny tad. But I do like him. And again, they obviously need the receiver losing Pittman, so I'll go solid B plus here. On to the next Giants signing tight end Isaiah Likely to 3 year, $40 million deal. I'll start it off here. Um, I'm gonna go a solid A minus. Only because Giants could be one of the scariest offenses next year. Jackson Dart, Cam Scattaboo, Malik Neighbors, and now you got that incredible tight end out of Isaiah Likely here. Holy cow, the offense looking stacked. So I think I'm willing to give this a solid A minus or B plus, somewhere in that range for me.
Yeah, I think it's a good one. It's definitely helpful. They needed it, so he's a young tight end that has a lot of potential, that if he's leaned on more too, I think he can really excel. I think a lot of the experts were really, looking at, a lot of people had him ranked really high for a pickup. So yeah, I'll have to say that's a good pickup on there, for the team wise, what they could use. So I go with an A.
It's fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, Giants are gonna be they're gonna be fun next year. All right, we got Titans signing Waddell Robinson, 4 year deal worth 78 million with 38 million guaranteed. I'm gonna give this one a solid. I go B minus. He's just not an all stud, right? Like he's just not on the level of like the top guys, but he's actually very underrated. He had a fun season last year, and I mean, literally, Titans need every position out there at this point. And so him and Cam Ward could also be fun over there. So I'll give this B minus here.
Yeah, I'd go with a B on him too. Yeah, to
Yeah,
make it a
intrigued
quick
to
one.
see that. I'll make that quick. Another one. We're probably gonna rapid fire more of these guys because these are the smaller guys, not as big. Uh, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was saying one I wanted to maybe talk about too, and I don't know if
Yeah,
that was on your list, but the
no, go
Steelers
for it.
signing Rico Dowdle. That was more of
Yeah,
a recent one tonight,
yeah. I think it was one of the
today.
later ones. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the later ones. And and I was wanting to see where he would go. And I think that was, a lot of these, teams exchange players during free agency. So, they lost Gainwell to the Bucks. So, what do you do? That's what I was saying. It's not always so bad you lose. It's who do you replace it with? And, Rico Dottle had a lot of, he had the capabilities. He did show some flashes of being really good. At some points you thought he was really dynamite, when he had opportunity. So they didn't have to pay a lot of money for him. It's 2 years, 12.25 million, so 6 million a year. I think that was a good pickup for the Steelers myself. So, I would actually give that, for what they needed. I give it an A because of the potential there.
Wow.
I was thinking B, but
Wow.
I do think losing Gainwell was big, and now picking up somebody that really may help replace him, and could be a starter even. So yeah.
Solid. Hey, you're really high in that then.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I was gonna go B. I mean, still pretty similar, but I mean, same reasons as you. They just need to replace Gainwell. That's good. He'll be fun over there. Make it short. Shane pretty much hit all the pointers there. But also, again, I know we keep bringing it up. That's gonna be fun to see what happens there for fantasy. How much people want to get him. Another staying in the running back talk. Another running back that moved teams is Cardinals signing running back Tyler Algier to a 2-year, $12 million deal. Um, I might, dude. I don't. I feel like I'm gonna get hate for this. I don't mind going a D. I just don't care about this guy personally. I've never been I know other people are high on him. I think you. I might be mistaken, but I think you liked him last year. Well, somebody in this podcast liked him. I'm just not high on him, so I don't really care about this smaller guy. So I'm gonna go D.
Well, he's just another. I think two things right here. One is he's more of a backup,
Yeah,
that has potential. He's good at the goal lines and stuff, and this actually is probably good news for anyone that has Bijan for fantasy
true.
next year.
Yeah,
Because that was one of the problems. He was always stealing a lot of his, Bijan's, touchdown runs and goal line carries and things like that. So, I think now, depending who else they put in there, you took that guy away that's used for that. So I think that's a big help for, fantasy on there. But for, them picking up Algier, I think, like I said, he's a solid player, has the potential to have a place on your team. So, I would say for the pickup itself, for how the team could use them, I would say it's probably like a B pickup for me. Because I do believe he's beneficial. He's not going to be like a starter, I think.
so you're way higher than me. Yeah, we'll see. Just I don't really care about him personally. I'm trying to see if we missed anybody else. Oh, here's a bigger boy that we missed. I can't believe I missed this. Saints signing again another running back. Travis Etienne.
Oh yeah, we almost forgot about that
Holy
one.
cow! I would not mind giving this like a minus up there in the A's. I mean, he's honestly, let's give an F minus to the Jags, just like Seahawks for letting this guy go. I thought he was really good combo for Trevor Lawrence last year, and with him and his running, I feel like he allowed Trevor Lawrence to do a lot more and give breathers to him and breaks, and so Trevor Lawrence could, because in my opinion, Trevor Lawrence's best year might have been last year, in my opinion. So yeah, really surprised by the Jags. But Saints, as much as I hate y'all, screw y'all. This is a good pickup, so I'm gonna give it A.
Yeah, I would say it's like him and Kenneth Walker. I like
Yeah,
both of
that's
those running
crazy.
backs. And I think Saints did it. It'll be interesting what they do with Kamara and stuff over there now. Because obviously ETN is going to be leaned on for the starter, and he has, he's a good player still. And like you said, I will be interested seeing what the Jags do. So yeah, I give it an A pickup. I think he's one of the top running backs. And I think that Jacksonville should have tried to resign him, but they obviously are going to lean on the young running back, and we'll still have to see if they bring somebody else in the mix there for him.
Screw you,
That's
Saints. Screw you.
But that goes along with the Broncos re-signing J.K. Dobbins. That was
Yep.
another one. I think that was a good sign too. J.K. Is sort of underappreciated, I think too. And for the Broncos,
Oh
you
yeah, I
know,
think he's always been underrated, even on the Ravens.
yeah,
He was
he
good.
was, and how they use running backs over there. They definitely could use them. So, and they were successful last year. So, some of the better teams last year that are trying to keep some of their players, that's always a good sign, because they were winning, and then Denver Broncos have, they won a lot of games, even though a lot of these running backs sometimes get hurt and stuff and come out. And J.K. Dobbins had, had those issues too, but he's been a solid running back for them, especially when
Yeah,
he's playing.
I'll give that a B. That's
Yeah, I'd
solid
say B.
resign. Solid
B's good.
resign. This is one of my this more personal thing. I like this guy from last year. Smaller role here though. Bears signing safety Kobe Bryant.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I'll give that a B plus. I love this guy on the Seahawks. I think he was one of the reasons the Seahawks defense was so dominant and the best defense from last year. And honestly, this is really good for the Bears. If there's anything that's neat, I think it's defense. Their offense is pretty stacked. Bears offense is fun to watch. So amazing pickup. And with Bears making a deep playoff run last year, woo, this was a fun pickup for them. Yeah, I'm gonna go B here.
Yeah, I'd go with a B too. And anytime you can get somebody that's on like one of the top squads, and obviously Seahawks having that, top ranked defense, any of those players that, participate, to commit, contribute to that success, or, if you're able to pick them up. And that's a bad thing for, like Super Bowl teams and stuff when they lose some of those players, because you obviously got to fill those squad. But yeah, it's a definitely help. And I think the Bears, you know, getting more help on defense there from somebody that's, a veteran that has some experience, been in the big games like that. That's a big move. So yeah, definitely a B for me.
Now listen, another Dolphins guy here that I see no one talking about. I think no one's talking about it because it's a fullback. But Chargers signing Alec Ingold to a 2-year deal, under 8 million here. I'm willing to give this a B plus. I think Harbaugh over there on the offense, Chargers offense over there, is one of the more fun coaches you can say, right? One of the coaches that like doing these fun plays. He just likes to just beam that thing. He loves when Justin Herbert's just throwing for 500 yards a game. And as we've seen on the Dolphins, he's actually very talented, a very
Yeah.
underrated fullback. He can catch, he can run, right? He's not just there to be on the field and be a random fullback. He is up there as a more talented fullback. So I thought this was a fun little signing here to see him on the Chargers, for sure.
Yeah, I hated to see him go. For the Dolphins, he was a fan favorite, a hard player, and of course, fullbacks and stuff, they're tough now because not every offense, uses them the same way, or even uses them at all sometimes, so, that was, I don't know what the Dolphins are going to really lean on, how the offense is going to run this year, so obviously they must have thought, that he wasn't, part of the plan, or just too much money. I know there's cap issues obviously for the Dolphins, but he's a good player, solid player. So I'd give him if they use him the right way, he's somebody can really benefit for that team. So yeah, I'd give it a B at least. And he's a good guy. Gonna, miss him for a Dolphins.
Yeah.
I loved watching him play.
But
Tough player.
why does it feel like Bucks and Dolphins are like the top two for free agency right now? What's going on here? Like, good God. And I guess it's exciting to see news, but like that's crazy. Um, I don't think there's much more left I see here. Another quick one. Packers a trade edge for Sean Gary to Cowboys. I just want to say before I grade, why do like Cowboys and Packers only know how to trade to each other? Like, what's happening here, bro? This almost just feels like they just flopped Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary. I don't know what's going on with them too. Maybe they're secretly friends behind the scenes. Um,
Yeah.
but with Micah not being on Cowboys anymore, maybe this is something Cowboys need. So I go like a C plus
Yeah,
for me.
from what I've seen, he's definitely can help that, to help him. So, I would give it a B. He's a solid player. And can, obviously some of these guys are not as flashy when
Yeah.
compare to some of the offensive players and stuff that we hear about. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
every
definitely
position is
something that can,
needed though, but
yeah,
you're right.
definitely
Yeah, it's
need
not
it.
as exciting as like a Mike Evans or Tua thing, but and then this is the last one that I can remember. I don't know if you remember anymore. There's also two more we could talk about that happened days ago. That wasn't today if we want. But the last one I have on my phone is Rams extending Trent McDuffie to a 4-year deal, $124 million extension, make him the
Yeah.
highest paid quarterback at 31 million per year. Now here's the thing about this one. I want to give it an A just skill wise. Trent McDuffie is really good, but making him the highest paid, could he was is that a little crazy? So I'm gonna go B just because maybe it was a little too much money. As much as I love Trent McDuffie, so I'm gonna go B here. B plus, I guess.
Man, that's hard. You got made a good point there too. I mean, you could easily say A just because it's a top player in any
Yeah.
time. If you do, so I could say A because he is one of the top. But yeah, it is. Sometimes is it worth the money and stuff? I don't know. These guys are getting so much money nowadays. But yeah, he is a top player. Will benefit the team a lot. Obviously, it hurts the
But to
Chiefs
be
for
fair, they
losing
got
him.
him mid season last year, right? Like halfway. And to be fair, they did make it the championship. Rams did. So maybe they saw something in him and be like, all right, he really did help the team. That he helped us get all the way to the championship. That could be their logic too. I don't know. Again, not a Trent McDuffie hater. I'm still giving this a B or whatever. He is the highest paid cornerback now. Is that a little crazy? Maybe. But hey, listen, he deserves it. He's good. Thank God he left the Chiefs. Because screw the Chiefs. Thank God he left. I can actually root for him now. Thank Lordy. Um, but yeah, was there any more you think that you want to talk about from today, or do because there's two that happened a few days ago, or was there any more you've seen from today?
Well, I mean, there's been so much activity, but
I
I
mean, I
know
know there's
one.
like small ones, but I know we don't have to cover those.
Yeah, there's a few of them I don't think we talked about yet, or a
But
couple at
if there's
least.
any players
Like,
you liked,
Wandell Robinson, leaving the Giants, going
no,
over
we
to
talked
the
about that.
Titans. And I think that was, actually a pretty good pickup for the
Hey, we
Titans.
no, we talked about that
We did talk about that. I don't remember talking about
because we're
Robinson.
talking about how he's going to be good of Cam Ward.
Oh, maybe. Oh man, see, we got so many of
Hey,
them.
you're zoned out. Hey, it's his bedtime, guys.
It's getting late, I
It's his
guess.
bedtime. We were rapid firing through them. Maybe that's what.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess there's a lot. I mean, a lot on the defensive side, like Panthers signing Jalen Phillips for
Oh
120
yeah, old
million.
Dolphins guy right there.
Yeah, he loved him on the Dolphins. Went to the Eagles. The Eagles would have loved to keep him, just they weren't going to put up 120 million. So I mean, he went over to the Panthers, got paid. That's a obviously a big move for the Panthers. I have to give it an A, being that he's one of the top pass rushers out there right now. But it is a lot of money, so hopefully he's worth it, stays healthy, that kind of stuff. But it's definitely a big move,
I
for them.
want to say A because he is good, but I'm gonna go D just because they took our playoff spot last year. So screw the Panthers. So now I'm giving. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'll give him an A. No, he's good. But screw the Panthers still. Now they have another guy. Now Bucks have to verse that guy twice a year. So poor Baker. Oh man, that's not gonna be fun for him. Not at all.
Yeah, and of course, the Bucks re-signed Kate Otten. Kate Otten, that's a good
Yep.
thing for the Bucks. When good or bad news, it's a lot of
He's a
activity.
50-50 guy, but I don't mind that. We still need a tight end, so I don't mind that.
Yeah, he's young, has some talent, and hopefully they able to keep players and keep like I said, there's I don't want to get into all those, but I mean there was obviously a lot of teams re-signing people. That's always good if they're like you got the Commanders re-signing Tunzel. That's obviously good for their line.
That's good.
Things like that. But some of them that weren't as important, Panthers signing Kenny Pickett, that kind of stuff. I'm like,
Man, hey, if Bryce Young gets hurt though, I talking about like Tua over there on Falcons. That is a solid backup. Hey,
yeah, I
don't
guess,
do it.
but
That's a Super Bowl champ right there. Kenny Pickett, he was throwing some bangers in the Super Bowl. Don't disrespect him. Super Bowl champ right
yeah,
there.
no about that one. Kendrick Bourne, that was another one. Cardinals signed him.
Yep.
That'd be interesting, that he was another one out there, not one of the top receivers, but has a lot of potential, and the Cardinals, already have some people over there. So that's good for their receiving core. And especially depending, if, who's quarterbacking, I guess it's Jacoby.
Well, what we can talk about is I know this wasn't from today, but the two biggest things before all this went crazy is we could start with DJ Moore going to the Bills if we want to grade that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious, but I'm gonna go with A, just because I think. I mean, we've talked about this for years. Um, Bills just really need. I guess. Yeah, I guess years. Ever since Stephon Diggs left, I guess is the best way to put it. They really haven't had that guy for Josh Allen, and I'm a DJ Moore glazer, so I like this. I'm excited to see White Lightning and DJ Moore combine. So I'm giving this a solid A plus. it's gonna be top tier for me.
Yeah, it really depends for me. I mean, DJ Moore has a lot of potential, has the capability. He's been able to put up some numbers. Did have more of a down year last year um, from the other seasons, but
At least he
going
had
over there
catch of
with
the year
Josh,
last year, I believe, if I'm
what's
correct on
that?
that. I think he won like catch of the year. I think he
Yeah,
killed
he
Williams.
ended
So
up really picking up on the
yeah,
second half of the
playoffs run.
season.
Playoff DJ
Yeah,
Moore was a different breed. He was fun in playoffs.
yeah, he started really picking up second half of the season. He really started showing what he's capable of, again, have Buffalo's biggest weakness is trying to get somebody in there that Josh Allen can really lean on,
Right.
and so like you said, since Stephon Diggs, they really haven't had that, so he has the ability to go in there with a quarterback that can really both of them can benefit. So I would say, I would give it a B plus because I just want to see DJ Moore do it. But I wouldn't really argue against an A,
Nah, just
A
be
plus
honest.
or
It's
anything
because
like
he went
that.
to the Bills, your rival.
He's going to, yeah. I mean, I don't think really about that, but you're right. I mean, I hope he's not that successful
Now
for
you
the
have to hate him
Dolphins'
though.
sake.
You have to hate him now.
Now I have to hope he doesn't do well, at least against the Dolphins, but it's a
Now that you
division.
said that, you didn't give him an A. He's gonna get 5 touchdowns on you.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah, yeah, that's the only problem. When you see your division foes pick up players that benefit, you're like, ah, darn it. They couldn't go somewhere else, but it's not like they're gonna do it, it just we'll see. Hopefully we can shut them down.
And the other big one was Max Crosby going to the Ravens, which is insane. Again, I
Yeah.
know probably obvious, but we just want to talk about it. For me, A plus. I think he's one of the best defensive players active right now. I think he'll be fun on the Ravens. I think Ravens actually is a very fun defense with who they have. If they keep everyone, they can be good. They are inconsistent as a team as a whole. But I think Max Crosby will be fun over there on the D line, and I'm actually excited to see what he does over there. And obviously, he has more of a chance of winning the ring with the Ravens than the Raiders, obviously. So if Max Crosby ever does want to win a ring, this is good for him. It's definitely a better chance. I don't know why I hit the 6-7, but it's definitely a better chance. I don't know what
Yeah, I
your
mean,
rating
when you
is.
think of the Ravens and some of the, the great players they've had, especially on defense over the years when they were really, really winning, and dominating and bringing over somebody like that on the team with a team that's pretty solid in a lot of ways, anyways. With Lamar Jackson on the offensive side, and now somebody that can help dominate over there. The funny thing is, I liked all the memes against about Joe Burrow. It's like he just saw that going, geez, man, every team I have to go against has, you got Miles Garrett over there, you know,
I didn't think
you
about
got
that. That's
you
crazy.
got Watt, and you got, and he's already getting sacked like too much anyway. So
Now we
he's
know
like,
why he's injury prone. Good God, man.
yeah,
Are
now
we
I got
serious?
three massive
Miles
defensive
Garrett,
players.
TJ Watt, Max Crosby.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
I've been loving the memes about that because we
Oh,
obviously posted one
no.
on our page too. You guys can check it out. But yeah, it's just funny.
Maybe
You
Joe.
know,
No, Joe Burrow got to switch teams, man. This is ridiculous. He's
I'm trying
never
to get
winning a
him to
ring.
come to the Dolphins. He hasn't done it
Hey, he
yet,
might need to come to the Bucks and Baker plays like he did last year. Oh my lordy. Good God.
yeah. I mean, if
Um.
I'm the Bengals, when I see that, you got to invest in that line. You got to invest in the
Yeah, and they
line
already have
really
one of the
big.
worst O lines, which is crazy. Now you're going
Yeah,
up against all those guys. Good God.
yeah.
You
You
know,
got.
I'm gonna. You know, all my bets this year is just sacks on those guys with the versus Bengals. I'm getting my money, man. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
That's probably the good bets right there. How many sacks are you gonna get?
I didn't think about that. That's horrendous for him.
Even though the
Um,
line might be tough, they every time they play him, they have like six on there. And then like, oh, what?
Poor Joe, man.
Poor Joe.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Was there anything else? I think that about.
I
I
mean,
said no. Like
obviously,
anybody
Travis
else want to say about?
Kelsey's expected to return in the Chiefs, so he's
Oh
not going
yay!
somewhere else.
More Taylor Swift concerts. Woo! We're so excited for that one. Oh my
But
God.
when you think about it, it that sounds a little better now with Kenneth Walker going over there. When you think about the offensive strength over there, with Rice and Kelsey and Walker and Mahomes, that again, I'm not even a Chiefs fan or anything, but it does look like, they're going to have some weapons over there you got to watch for,
Well, I
in the
guess yeah, that confirms because we know that Mahomes will probably won't even be back till the second half of the season, unless he has like the best doctors on earth. I might be wrong on that, but ACL he got that towards the second half, so that should be pretty lengthy there. I wouldn't be surprised if he misses some games there. So obviously that means Travis Kelsey's willing to wait it out. I know there's a lot of talks because he's older. Mahomes got hurt. They're like, all right, if he's gonna retire, they didn't even make playoffs. So I know there's a lot of talks on retiring, but hey, I guess he's willing to stick it out. Willing to stick it out, man.
Yeah, and then of course, I mean, Mahomes keeps saying that he's going to be back by the beginning, but we'll see if that really
He
happens or
really
not.
said, "Oh man, I don't know about that. We'll see. We'll see." Again, I mean, he is Mahomes. You've seen that contract he got from Chiefs, so maybe he's has the best doctors on earth, but ACL isn't easy to recover from.
No, it's not, and that's why they were. It was sort of interesting when they. I know. I think I was just looking up to Jay Glazer with Fox Sports had reported that Mahomes was far ahead of his typical 8 to 12 month recovery. Because he had the surgery almost immediately after injury and he began rehabbing within days. So they're saying he's way ahead of his schedule of the normal. So it'd be um, interesting, but himself has said his rehab is going great and his goal is to be ready for week one. So,
Oh
and
man.
there's a possibility he's going to participate in OTAs and stuff if he's cleared by then.
Hey,
So
but
that
he
would
might make the
be,
mistake that he tries to rush it and he re-injures it.
yeah, and then that is true
Then you're
because
done the whole season.
because that's exceptionally fast, 7 8 months, for an ACL injury. So, but you're right. I mean, that could put them, not in
You
the
know
spot
what?
where they want.
And we didn't talk about this. So if that, let's say he does miss some games, if Gardner Minshew is gone out of Chiefs, who is their quarterback? That's funny to think about. If Mahomes doesn't play, I don't even know who's playing over there. A punter? Oh my lord! Maybe Mahomes does need to recover. They have no one. I'm sure maybe it's some no name they drafted or something.
Yeah, I don't know. There's been, that's why I don't know. There's been talk about some of these. I have a feeling you were going to see something, happen with that, and maybe I don't know if that, yeah, I don't know. If they pick up, unless they, try to pick up somebody like a Murray or somebody like that, and you know, he doesn't have a lot of solid backup options out there right now. So it's be interesting what kind of activities they do
Andy
with
Reid is
that.
stressing right now. He's like, please get healthy. That's crazy. So that's
They get,
that Gardner Minshew thing was more of a bigger deal for Chiefs than the other way around there. That's kind of crazy, huh? I didn't think about that. I wasn't thinking. Yeah,
yeah, because I mean they got a guy over there, Brett Veach and stuff, but I mean he's not a big known backup or anything like that. So be interesting if they're gonna pick up somebody else that's a little more high profile as a backup.
yeah, I agree. That is, huh? Alrighty, unless there's anything else, we are past the hour mark here.
Yeah. No, we
I think we
did pretty
covered
good
all of it.
stuff. A lot of stuff going on today. A lot of
I mean,
conversation
for
there.
again, I said this earlier, but for us too, there's a lot of news for our teams. That was crazy for
Yeah,
Dolphins
yeah.
and Bucks. So, for me though, I think yours was a little more positive than mine. Mine was just negative Nancy. I mean, I just lost the greatest Buccaneer of all time. And listen, if Levante David retires, y'all will not be seeing me this season. I mean, that's just that's just everything going to crap, man. So screw me, man. I'm having the worst year so far, and the season hasn't even started. Todd Bowles is staying. Mike Evans left, and Levante Davis talking about retirement. I hate my life. Let me say something. So if you guys do not see me on this channel anymore, you know why, right? It's because of the Bucks, and they're being Looney Tune, man. Holy cow, I hate my life right now. Like nothing's going right for the Bucks.
It'll be all right. They're figuring it out.
Hey, we still got Baker. Baker be
Baker
baking.
Baker's bacon.
Alrighty, y'all. You guys tell us some of your thoughts down below in the comments. What do you think about it? Some of these free agency things. What was your favorite one? And also, we're on every social media. You can catch us on TikTok, Instagram, X, Facebook. Am I missing one? I think that's all of it.
Yeah,
I
pretty
believe
much
so.
everything.
I mean, think of a social media. The chances we're on it. We're on all of them. Same name everywhere. The couch coverage. Find us. we post we post a lot. We're trying to get back into it. I know it's a little harder being the off season, but we're trying our best here. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed. If you have any ideas you want us to do being the off season, also let us know in the comments. But please drop a like. It takes a second of your time, and it really helps our video out. It pushes it out. Subscribe for us, and we'll catch you on the next one. All right.
All right. See
Catch
you
you on the
guys
next
later.
one.